You from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. And with me is my guest, Ed The Pagan Hubbard. And we're going to be talking today about which college. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can be an active part of this conversation by typing your questions or comments directly into whatever platform you're watching on, and they will show up here in the chat room where we can see and respond to them. And I've been very, very pleased with all the response we've been getting recently from people, and I hope that we continue to have very active conversations. And so, hello, Ed.
Hello, Don. I'm glad to be here. I love Midday. I think it's I think it's a great show that you've done. I
Thank
mean,
you.
and I think it's a lot more interactive than say the vlogs were that you did for so many years.
It is
Those are
with
good
the,
too.
thank you. Yeah, with those I could only see people's comments after the fact. Oh, and hello to Janet in the chat room. It's good to see you.
Hmm.
Here I can see them while we're going, and that does make a huge difference.
Hmm. I can see that.
I enjoyed doing the video blogs,
Hmm.
um, but this in a way is very much the same thing. It's still an educational platform.
It certainly is.
So speaking of educational platforms,
Yeah,
today we're going to be talking about which college, and would you like to tell us a little bit about that project?
certainly. Well, January 11th, uh, 2024 at 11:11 a.m. We're going to open the doors. Why that time? Because of the Great Crystal Web, because I like that number. There's a lot of reasons. But most importantly, because it's early in the new year, and
Hmm.
people will be able to dedicate themselves. And the first class people are going to be able to get to is the Witch Starter class, or the Introduction to Witch Culture, which I'll explain to you a lot, which is like going to be like this huge 12 module course given over 7 weeks by some of the leaders in our community. I've already got commitments from the lovely Byron Ballard. I so adore her. But I also have from Papa G, Greg, and his lovely husband, Eric, who are going to give in hoodoo traditions. Jason Mankey is getting an attentive yes to teach us some Gardnerian magic or traditions material. I've got Chris Copeland, who's, speak your own books. Have been so amazing part. He's going to talk about atheistic witches. I've got connections out there. We're talking about witch fashion, pop culture. We're going to take a look. It's going to be the most comprehensive class you've ever seen for someone who doesn't know anything, and they're going to be able to learn from the very best.
Very good.
So that's like, yeah, that's right in immediate. As you can see, I'm here with my art supplies, my daughter's art supplies, and I'm working at this desk to build an amazing structure that's going to allow for a lot of teaching.
So what is it that makes which college different from other schools?
First of all, let me go ahead and say, uh, which school, which we will accept the transcripts of which school,
Hmm.
and we will accept the transcripts of any of these other schools, represent a lot of clergy training. Wolstein Academy, is it?
Yeah.
Wiccan Seminary did, which is the ATC's group, does an amazing job of getting deep into divinity, deep into how you experience things. Which was the seminary of the Corellian Education Ministry. It didn't start out there, but it is today a powerful tool of that way. Cherry Hill Seminary, which my good friend Lance Lerner just started working at, it does an amazing job dealing with philosophy and psychology and governmental institutions, talking about groups that do governmental churches. Let me go ahead and circle Sanctuary. Their clergy training is top notch. If you want to be involved in the government fights, government buildings, military, all of that. They're great teachers, and they're great and amazing services. So when we started Witch School 22 years ago, right, it was to fill a need of the average student. And a lot of these people have dedicated themselves to making sure they have high quality clergy. Witch College is a community college. Let's put it that way. It is going to teach skills you need. You want to be a professional witch? That's the skill sets that are going to be there. If you need to understand how to build a tradition, it isn't going to be, it's going to have a lot of divinity in it. sure, but it is not going to be about teaching that. It is going to be about teaching Generation Alpha. One of the biggest parts I have a lot of teachers who want to teach how to get accreditation for their teaching so they can teach from a pagan point of view. All education is biased. Let's make no bones about it. Whoever's paying for the education gets to bias it whatever way that they want to. And so I feel very strongly about that. And so
Absolutely.
which college is about skill sets, how to deal with social media. Oh my God, I've been in radio for 30 years. We're going to have classes on podcasting, social media, social transmitters, herbalism, spellcraft, and all of that. But we're going to start with Witch Starter, which we're going to have an introduction of what do I mean by witch culture.
And we want to say hello to Richard in the chat room. It's good to see you,
Mm-hmm.
Richard. And so you mentioned Witch School, which is the seminary of the Correllian tradition.
Mm-hmm.
What is your position in the Correllian tradition at this point?
Okay, so this is very important. I'm so I've not been involved with Witch School in any direct way. Well, I'm the founder of Witch School, co-founder of Witch School. That's none of these
Mhm.
ever said. I'm very proud of it, and it was a process and a system to develop it because there was a lack of teachers, and so what we had to get off teachers and mentors and others these sort of automated systems. So I've always been very pro Witch School, and
Mhm.
so, but I left on a formal basis in March. I've not been involved with them since March on a formal basis. I was on the board of directors, trying to direct them and focus them, and realized that at that point there was they were going to be very good at what they were doing, and that's when we decided to part ways with the Correllian tradition altogether. Other than I left the board on September 3rd, I've left it. I am just simply the Reverend Ed Hubbard, clergy number 4. Very proud of that fact. On my card, it has clergy number 4. All with all the rights and privileges, but I'm not an elder anymore. I'm not acting in that capacity. I'm not acting in any other capacity within the tradition other than I am a priest in service of the God and Goddess and the Correllian family, the great family. So literally, I'm the same as everybody else. Uh, and that's important because they're pursuing now the vision of something that was created and processed it. We're talking 2 million hours over the last 22 years of people. Everybody says, "Oh, you're the founder." Well, being founder is kind of cool, but it isn't necessarily important to the long run if that is the founder. It had to get into the hands of people who want to do it. And Witch School has done something incredibly amazing. It tightened up its mission, tightened up its mission, tightened up its mission. And not only that, but the very people who started as teenagers there, some of the people who are young adults,
Mhm.
some of them who started more a little elderly, have now taken over the system. Nobody in the Witch School system right now isn't a graduate of the same system.
Yes, indeed.
Isn't that amazing? So we were able to do the number one thing Witch School was supposed to do is regenerate the Correllian tradition, regenerate other facets of witchcraft and paganism. And while we made the school available to everybody, it was primarily the Correllians who took it and took it on.
Mhm.
But
Yes,
me,
indeed.
as far as the Correllian tradition is, I am a happy supporter of them. Blessings to the Most Reverend uh, Alyssa and Most Reverend Phoenix, who I guess went through a Woodtine Council
Yeah,
recently.
last Friday night.
Yeah, and I wasn't there because I'm not, but it's important that people get a chance to. So I'm very supportive of the system, very proud of the system. I'm glad it survived its first real stress test. And, but in that sense, I'm the architect who's given the house over to the people who are going to live in it and run it.
And it is fascinating to see
Mm-hmm.
a new generation coming into their place and know that you played a role in that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all through the community, the new generations are coming up, and hopefully, Witch College will continue to play a role in in training them. Certainly, Witch School will continue to play a role in training them.
And, and so will all the other schools.
Hmm.
That's the other thing that people don't comprehend. Um, and it's hard to understand for people. But my personality, if I'm not at the crunchy end, you know, hi Melanie, if I'm not at the crunchy end of development, I'm not a happy person. Um, That's always been true. And, witch school existed before hundreds of other schools existed. Today, there are hundreds of online witch schools
Hmm.
of various sorts, academies, Druids Academy, and I'm very proud of that spawning. And everybody thinks, oh, do you think there's too many? There can't be. There just simply can't be. Are there too many? You just asked if there are too many other groups. No, no, we have to express our love. And so I think that's very important. Hmm?
Absolutely. And people come in all kinds,
Hmm.
and they need all kinds of services.
And I think today people always see anyone who has a similar name or similar idea as competition.
Hmm.
Competition. They're not realizing that we're fighting for an audience. It's 1.5 million witches, another 1.5 million pagans in just the United States. And we have, witch starter. We're going to have more than the United States. We're going to have Rolando from the Philippines teaching about Filipino magic. So that and Filipino witches. And in this case, witch isn't that everybody's Wiccan. No, no, no. There are witches go across the board. And so I want to explore more of that. Um, but I think that people don't understand. I'm not competing with these other schools. It's impossible for me to compete against them because it is impossible for us to have enough education. And plus, it's going to be, like I said, a community college. There's going to be a lot of services. There's going to be a lot of ideas of workshops and things of that nature. Um, and I've got some pretty amazing people lined up to do some pretty amazing things.
Yes, indeed. Now, one of the things that, and I've talked about it a number of times, but one of the things that has always characterized things that you do is being on the cutting edge of technology. And would you like to talk about the changes in technology a little bit, perhaps?
For right now, in the future, what
Yes.
really or what started which
Well, the
college?
future will be here tomorrow.
The future is here today. I don't actually talk about the future too often. I usually talk. People think I do talk about the future way more than I do. I'm usually talking about the now, and they
Hmm.
see it as the future. I love staying at the edge of learning things. The whole thing about witch school. So I asked Spirit a while ago. I want to. Witch school was asking me back. There's marketing. I've been kind of competing against these older ideas. I mean, the sites became very corporate. I think at some level there was a certain amount of shame of the old Harry Potter site. The chagrin, and they just felt it was just that, and they backed away from their teenage programs, and they backed away from a lot of things, and they made the tradition more solid because witch school was solid and the tradition could use some healthy, really some healthy growth, and I think that did occur, and I think
Hmm.
that is amazing that it occurred. Hmm? Um, but I think if you take it to the next step, 15 months ago, well, I've always talked about technology.
Hmm.
But I started Pagan World about connecting pagans. Pagan World is the thing that I did, and that was 4 years ago,
Hmm.
right before Witch Fox. Let me go ahead. I said Witch Fox was going to go down. I told everybody a year ahead of time, Witch Fox is gone. It's going to collapse. I thought it was going to remain a legacy system. I thought it was going to become a museum piece.
Hmm.
It didn't. It actually vanished on December 1st, 2019. Yes, 4 years ago, Witch Fox literally disappeared. And before that, I was screaming. Everybody yelled at me. They did. They said it's not going to change. Why should we need it? This is good. This idea of if somebody's doing it, they need all of our support, right? That they need
Hmm.
all of our support, and nobody else should try to go and compete with them. And at the time, I was trying to build the Pagan World, and got the idea that today Pagan World is now building that directory. We're building those connections, and that is because I use a Ning platform, which is very easy to use and very simple. Software as a service became into it. But 15 months ago, I recognized that Witch School was going to collapse because there was something coming out, and it came out faster than I expected. Chat GPT. I mean, I was always talking about it, but Chat GPT, Johnny on the spot. And I haven't really used it as much as other people. I haven't written any books with it. Actually, I use my GPT to basically edit my words so I can produce more words. That's my positive way. I don't use it to generate content. I generate my own content and have it correct it. Much more gentler. Uh, and that you were going to see things. So let me tell you. So you're going to see this change into AI, into more automated services. But what we are already past, but still has plenty of opportunity, is Zoom. Zoom is growing and expanding, and we were there at the beginning. It's very interesting. One of the things that I don't know, I'll never understand to this day, we had to lead on Zoom and all the conferences. We helped so many conferences in that first year of COVID. We saved a lot of people energy. We saved a lot of people time because we were already there. People don't realize in 2012 we had live stream shows from Salem, Massachusetts.
Hmm.
Looking at those, I mean, so we've been this space. Now we had Carolyn Education Ministries broadcasting, and it never matured because
Yeah.
of a lot of the belief that we want to stay in legacy. And so when these two events happened, I realized I no longer were compatible. My vision was no longer compatible with Witch School. So let me talk about vision. I believe in learning anywhere, anytime, any place. And that I truly believe that witches should be more in the world than they are, that they have a right to an income, they have a right to be there. And the only way to do that is by taking control of their own educational processes. I have not changed in this. This has been my argument for 30 something years. One of the things I've promised out of witch school, people don't remember what I promised at witch school, that we were going to eventually get to a college. That was my early promise to lifetime members. We would get to a college. And now, while which college is separate, we will take the transcripts of the lifetime members to fill in and where they need to. But guess what? We were like saying we were going to get there. And by the time we got there, we discovered we needed a community college. I mean, we need
Hmm.
people learning how to do more things that build community activists. And everybody goes, well, where do you get this idea? Well, I'm a Chicagoan. I grew up in the age of Obama. I mean, I'm a community activist. People don't know that before that I was this sort of online person. I was a community activist. And wait, as an online person, I'm a community activist. So which college is about teaching community activism as much as it is about other things.
Well,
But
it's kind of a matter of relevance, isn't it?
it's more than relevance. Right now, relevance is important. What it's about is staying relevant. And
Hmm.
what does that relevant means? In sort of Buddhism, it means living in the moment. Other people will say having your joy in the now. There is no past, there is no future. And that is a belief that we have. But it's not true. It's true in the moment because that's the only thing. It's like once I leave this moment, I can come back and look at it in tape,
Hmm.
but it may not be there. But all my past has come up here and all my futures come here. And through a lot of what I've been teaching, the quantum realities are saying, ooh, we affect all of it all the time. And so I have a strong belief. So people don't understand. I'm gripped in a vision of 300 years from now, where I'm sitting. You talk about reincarnation, incarnation in the future, where I'm sitting with a lot of people studying my life. It's a very odd feeling, but in my dreams, I've talked about this, and it's inside the Corrallons about world walkers. One of the things that make me dedicated, and I am sitting in a satellite, born to that satellite with other people, studying my studies. And what we're doing is by immersing ourselves in this lifetime, we're immersing ourselves. And the reason why I've so much in it, this was I was watching the change of history. History's
Hmm.
changing. The very nature of our civilization is just changing as much today as agriculture changed the nomadic lifestyle. The
Hmm.
introduction of counterintelligence is as important there. It's as important. There are other times that are important. I mean, you know how important the moment must have been for the first drummer, our first pagan beater, the first person who really loved the sound of beating a drum, got someone to dance for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the moment,
that would be a very important moment.
and that's called the singularity. And that's called the singularity moment. When once you cross it, you can't go back.
Hmm.
We're on the verge of the singularity. We're about to change the way it looks. So our education system has to become lifelong, anywhere, anytime, in any place. And our minds, like Toffler said, we're literacy of the 21st century. Well, not that we can't learn, but that we cannot unlearn, uh, learn, unlearn, and learn again.
Mm.
That's something that I live with. And which college is exactly that. We can't, people say, well, why don't you just build, well, I've heard somebody say, why don't you just build witch school at it? It can't. It's got to be built from new ground.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what else would you say to our viewers about why this project is important and what they can expect from it?
Okay. So nothing's really important. If you don't have love, if you don't have friendship, if you don't have food, if you don't have clean water, clean air, clean energy, if we don't have those things, none of this matters. We're heading for a place of doomsday. We're dying, and having our families lost. I'm a Gaius, and Gaius believes nature is all the God we'll ever know. And guess what? They have Gaiaism has no problem with extinction. I mean, so that or family lines and everything else. So to think any of this is relevant in the long term, right? It is only relevant if it provides you the conditions that Gaia says you need. Meaning, how are we going to have live a community that allows us to think freely, to think in Gaia, to think about the future, not to shy away from technology, but smartly use it? How do we, feed our bellies, and how do we warm ourselves, and how do we clothe ourselves? How do we cool ourselves? Oh my God, that's going to be a bigger question. Forget, most of my life being in Chicago winters is how do we warm ourselves up? Now it's going to be like, how do we cool ourselves off?
Yeah.
How do we show an example to the world? So I believe pagans and witches and Wiccans and magic users and hippies and all of that have the right answer. I mean, we said world was going to change. We mentioned the glaciers doing everything that's happening. We've been saying it's been happening for a long time.
Yes.
Witch College is about creating a program, and if you want to know the truth, I think we have to survive about 300 years, which is not very long in the course of history, as our
Mm.
own communities in our own spaces, and survive what's coming and watch a new genesis, a seventh genesis. This is a sixth extinction. The nature has after every extinction a evolutionary event, a Cambrian explosion. Nature fills in its spots. So I have no doubt, whatever climate change or whatever we bring into it, even if we brought a full fledged nuclear war into Earth, at some point Gaia would lick her wounds and figure out the next solution. I do think of Gaia as a living, thinking entity that interacts with all of us. And we're all part of it. We're all parts of pieces of the thought.
Yes, indeed.
And so I know people find that hard to believe. And so, what is Witch College for? Why is it important? Because we want to live in happiness and love and culture. And the only way we can do that is to have skills that allow us to contribute to the body politic and to the body of the mercantile and the body of the government and the body of the grocery store and the body of how do we share things and the body of the crafts. All of these other market forces that allow us to survive, we have to interact with and we have to be good at it. And suddenly I have a vision and another vision. I'm a person of visions, and I'm very fortunate. I find people who help me carry it out.
We're almost at the end of our half hour.
Hmm.
Um, I hope that everyone is enjoying the program. And what what can people expect next in this project?
Well, not just in this project. 2024 is a. If you're interested in being a hero, join the project. This next year is going to be a heroic year. We're America, at least from the American point of view, and other countries too. We are now in the middle of a hero's journey as a nation. And we're challenging ourselves of what we are going to look like, and what we're going to think about and how we're going to be. Period.
Hmm.
2024 is going to decide that. I
Yeah.
expect it will, huh? It just
Yeah.
is. I mean, it is not a
Well,
president.
the forces of, for want of
Mhm.
a better way to put it, the forces of good and evil are having their moment again
They
in
are.
terms of how to go forward.
And President Biden has
Mm.
said that he truly believes the next 2 to 3 years will set the next 60 years. Oberon Zell has said the same sort of thing for
Hmm.
the community. Over and over, we're hearing the next 2 to 3, 4 years. Now we're hearing from the tech industry, the singularity is coming in. AI is doing it. We may have had a major breakthrough in AI that may have costed a person their CEO job, Sam Altman, and then he got it back.
Hmm.
And we really don't know what the hell that was about. Let me add you another piece of it. Do you know what they don't also know what it's about? The same contractors, same CEO starting a new advanced chip company.
Hmm.
The question is, did an AI just make its own chip? So you're going to hear a lot of these conspiracy theories, and they're not conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
Potentially, they
that's
may
not
be
terribly far fetched these days.
right.
Yeah.
And so we're entering into this world where the world is going to be filled with a new consciousness.
Hmm.
And it's a collective consciousness. And this is something I've seen for a long time. I've talked about Gaia consciousness, the neurosphere. So, which college, but more importantly, the more elite, and it's going to be far more elite, Psychic Academy within that, are going to delve into this AI world. We're going to delve into surviving climate change through a physical mean. Anything that any witch needs to teach, we're going to teach. And we're going to make it so it's possible to create a archive and a record. And in my vision, this will turn into a cube that we can put on a spaceship that they can take to another world, turn it on, and rebuild their society.
Very
That's
cool.
that is my lifelong. That is that cube that's been in my head for a long time. Terence McKenna talks about a transcendental object, but I want to have by the end of my life. I've dreamt of a cube full of witch college and everything else that we could send to another colony. And I've dreamt of that cube from the other side of a life. So that's one of those weird reincarnational moments that has driven me so much to be a Corellian and the World Walkers, and a group of people who are going to take on the real object of reincarnation. Why does Witch College need to exist? Because we're going to be back here. Do you want to really start over?
And hello to Joanne in the chat room. It's good to see you. So, if people wanted to learn more about Witch College, or perhaps they want to enroll in Witch College, where would you send them?
Witchcollege.org. It's going to be the main site. That's what it's going to be called, witchcollege.org. Until I get earn a .edu. Those are really tough. Um, and so there you go. And that's on Pagan World. You can join Pagan World, Place of Connections. Again, all of this is sponsored through the Pagan World Project. And that's where we have a working group. And we're going to have actual opening to the school shortly. But it will not open, not even a little bit in the sense of classes or anything, until 11/11/11/1/11, 2024/11 day, 2 day, whatever way you want to call it. Um, so thank you. Yeah. But thank you for letting me share the vision. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this much more active vision of a open campus and what that'll look like online.
Yes, indeed. We want to say hello to Janice in the chat room. It's good to see you. And Janice wishes us a blessed Yule and says we both look good. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you. That's very
And
kind of you to say.
with that, we've come to the end of our time, so let us close with our prayer, as we always do, and I will see you tomorrow. And Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do in our lives, and we ask you to help us to remain relevant and focused in our lives, to help us to see the things that benefit our lives and the world, and to have the strength to pursue them. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love and with respect, and knowing you're always with us. Still, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. I thank you for your presence. May you be blessed now and always, and I will see you tomorrow.